There's another push for D.C. statehood, and I know you've heard this before, but Lorenzo Hall found out the plan is to get the whole country talking about it, not just us.
The rest of America is about to find out about this fight to make D.C. the 51st state. A new coalition called 51 for 51 was introduced on Twitter. So how will this effort be any different from what we've been seeing here for decades?
Most Americans are naive and ignorant to what our actual political status is.
This D.C. native Josh Birch is part of this new coalition. They're trying to make this issue a priority in the 2020 presidential election by deploying its members to those early voting states in next year's presidential primary, with advertisements and lots of door knocking.
American citizens pay taxes yet are denied representation in Congress. At a gut level, people know that that's fundamentally wrong.
Most Democrats eyeing the White House support D.C. statehood, with Senator Kirsten Gillibrand being the latest, sharing a tweet earlier today from 51 for 51. This group wants presidential candidates, however, on the record with a promise and a plan to make it happen, which includes pushing this through the Senate with 51 votes, a simple majority.
51 votes is good enough to confirm a Supreme Court justice. 51 votes should be enough to admit the 51st state into the union.
That 51 vote minimum would likely mean Democrats need to take the Senate in 2020 because Republicans refuse to take up the issue, which would give D.C. 2 senators who would likely be Democrats. 91% of D.C. residents supported Hillary Clinton in 2016.
My argument is...
That was Lorenzo Hall reporting.